afternoon, everyone. I am Samantha Mowat. I'm a clairvoyant psychic and a contactee, and today I thought it'd be a lot of fun if my dear friend of mine, Michael from the Vast Experience, joined me and we were to discuss orbs. You can go onto YouTube and actually look for Mike's channel. It is The Vast Experience. It's wonderful. He has so many UFO videos. You've just got to check it out. He's got everything from orbs to these different kinds of craft, ones that are seen in the daytime, the nighttime. It's just absolutely incredible. I can't say enough good things about it, so please go check out his channel. So, Michael, hi, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How's everything going for you today?
It is entertaining. Always entertaining. So what I thought, thank you, what I was thinking is because when you and I were speaking earlier, we were discussing the various ways that people can encounter orbs. Everything from seeing them on this dimensional plane to things like cameras picking them up to the fact that people can see them in the daytime, the nighttime. I think all of that's really fascinating. And you've really done me quite a kindness by showing me quite a few of the photos that you've taken that have these incredible orb pictures. Would you mind maybe talking about some of those for me?
Yes. There's one photo. It's the first in the line of it's a dark woods, and there's quite a few there. And I'll have it so the viewers can see this as well. But there's mostly like whitish type orbs in this photograph, but you also get like these crazy weird greenish blue ones with red around it and like almost orangey white and then clear ones. So this first photo is really good to start off with because there's actually snow mixed in with it. And with there being snow mixed in with it, it kind of lets you know which is which on this one. So you can actually differentiate between that and an actual orb.
I agree full-heartedly. It also helps that in this photo that you've chosen, there are also different colored orbs too, just to give that contrast, looking at the difference between the blue orbs and the white orbs and seeing how they're very similar shapes versus that of, say, falling snow. I'm glad you made that point of reference, so thank you.
Yes. So we'll go to the next photo there.
Okay.
And it's of a lone tree.
Mm-hmm.
And there's, I think, just one, or there's a few orbs in the background, but there's one big one off to the right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we kind of wanted to talk about, I think there's one below it too. There's one that's very, very clear, that's hardly noticeable at the bottom.
Yes,
And
there
then there's a
is.
very, very clear one above it. And we kind of wanted to talk about what these could possibly be, because a lot of people just have a lot of speculation online or even in person about what these could be. And I always figured that the higher the vibration, the brighter it was. But it's not always the case, only because, well, these brighter ones could also just be closer to the lens or closer to the flash, which actually light them up more. But there's a couple of photos that I have through here where some of these orbs, if you go to the even next one, there's some ones that are really, really bright, but they're way off in the distance.
I see that. You're correct. Um, do you suspect that with the different orbs that you have coming forward, that these could be, like, what do you think they could be? Do you think they're related to stuff like the elementals? Or are you suspecting they're multidimensional entities? From your experience as someone who spends a lot of time out in the woods and someone who really enjoys spending time outside, and you tend to capture these a fair bit outside from what I've noticed, do you think this is related to the beings that are predominantly found in those locations? Like, what are you speculating?
In a lot of instances, I'd say they can be a number of things, but for some of these, I'd say they might be elementals because it is outside, but I find that with a lot of these type of photographs, you find that, well, different beings hang out with different people as well, because certain people just have orbs around them. No matter where I am, it does seem to it does seem to just follow me around wherever I go. So it does depend on the person and their vibration, what kind of beings are hanging around them. A lot of the ones that hang around in my photos tend to be more of the pretty bright ones, but I do get really weird ones passing through a lot too. So I think that the brighter ones could be angelic, they could be crystalline beings for all I know, for some of them, because some of them could just be passing through, some of them could be hanging around. In a lot of these photos, I would suspect that they'd be something like elementals, yes. Yeah.
Do you find you see them in your home a fair bit?
I used to get them a lot in my home. More or less, I do get them more around the just on the outskirts of my house. Lately, I've been getting them by my front door, and it was just after you said you told me that I needed to put protection around my front door, and so I just asked for there to be more protection there. The next day, I took a picture, and there was just loads of them all around there, and I'll throw that one in there too. But yeah, they do tend to come through my house sometimes. Before I did a lot of clearings and stuff on my house or in my home here, I actually have a video linked on my YouTube channel there that there's a mirror on the floor, and I take I think it's a blanket or something off of it, and streams and streams of orbs, thousands of orbs come flying out of this mirror, and that's on my YouTube channel there, so you can check that out. That one's pretty interesting. So lately though, I would say that it hasn't been as much in my home, but before it used to be quite a bit.
So I've noticed that in my experiences, in particular some of my ET experiences, where I've noticed when I'm looking into a mirror, because I used to have this dresser across from my bed on the other side of the room with a mirror that was quite large and attached to it, that during one of my encounters I saw two orbs, and I'm not sure if they came through the mirror and into the room, or if I was seeing the reflection behind me as they came into the room. But there seems to be some correlation between mirrors and almost acting as like an interdimensional portal or a gateway for a lot of these beings. Have you found that's the case as well?
Since that video, yes. Also, my friend who was staying at a place on the other side of town here, she had a lot coming in and out where you could see it with your eyes. And I think I may have recorded it at one point, but she had me come over to see if I could help her with it in some way, and that was really rather interesting to deal with that. But yes, I have found that mirrors definitely can be something along the lines of a portal or something along those lines. What it is, I'm not so sure, but yes.
I'm inclined to agree. The one thing I think is interesting is sometimes we'll have orbs going along our house or along our property, and it won't even be like me asking these beings to come by. When I first moved into this home, I was actually putting books away on a bookshelf in my reading room, and I noticed this really large black orb just come passing through the middle of the room, and that felt like more of an interdimensional entity that I was seeing clairvoyantly, because it looked like it was partially translucent with my physical eyes,
Right.
rather than it being a physical object in this reality.
Okay.
So, do you ever find you have stuff like that happening?
I have had some weird stuff pass right by in front of me, and a lot of those ones, it seems like they're just maybe checking out what's going on, what's making different vibrations. I don't know what, their reasoning, who really knows how their mind really works, but yeah, it does tend to happen from time and time again, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. This other time, I was bathing one of my children when they were very small, and I remember us having like lots of really chaotic UFO encounters and ET encounters, and because of the way my contact was occurring around like the end of 2014 going into 2015, I remember asking some of the angelic beings I work with to come into my home more often to make their presence more known. That way I'd know if it was safe for this like event to be taking place, or these events rather. And I found that when that happened, I had a lot of like angelic mist coming around, and a lot of like these beautiful white orbs or purple orbs that were showing up all over the place, really making it clear to me that the angels were, I guess, making their presence known to a greater capacity. And I
Interesting.
found that's another way that orbs can be seen as well.
Yep, clairvoyantly. A lot of the time I'll see them out of the corner of my eye, and sometimes it does happen to be just a little bit of a mist, or it even can look like smoke sometimes. But yeah, it tends to be something along those lines. Yep.
One thing that I found that seems to be very common is depending upon if you're someone who's a contactee, you may see a lot of orbs going around you. It seems like this is a form of transportation for some of these beings in particular, traveling through orbs as a means of either changing the shape of their consciousness to go pick up the abductee or the contactee, or if these are like a transport craft, I'm not quite sure, but it seems like they're able to change their size and dimensional shape as well as they travel between the different dimensional planes. I think it's really quite fascinating.
Yes, it definitely is. I'll agree with that. I'm not sure how they do it, but it does tend to be something that they use in order to travel. And there's actually a video from E-City Ranch where there's an orb that comes off of the mountain, and when it's 13, the mountain's 13 miles away, and it doesn't change size. So it comes all the way towards them and travels 13 miles away in about 4 seconds, but it stays the same size the entire way and goes right past them. And they catch it the whole way. It's one of the most incredible videos I have ever seen. And but there's something dimensionally going on there that is got to be just, it's super fascinating. Like however it works, it is. Yeah, because the size change thing just boggled my mind. Like how that's even possible, I don't know. But it's some way that they do it, and it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Definitely. Um, is there anything in particular like that you would like to discuss when it comes to the orb aspect? Anything you think is particularly noteworthy or interesting?
Um, well, I actually wanted to go over one of these other photos that I had just sent you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and there's ones that are between 3 and 6 feet wide, and they're some of the biggest orbs that I had ever seen. It's during the middle of the day, and they're hovering over the garage in my backyard there, and there's several of them, and I got several shots of them.
Mm-hmm.
And these ones seem to be, I had never seen them before, at least never captured them before on photo.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, I was kind of hoping that you'd be able to maybe look into what they actually are. That'd be kind of interesting to find out.
One thing I think is interesting about the orbs that you're showing is because they're so much bigger than that of the other orbs that you are allowing for us to see through the photos, is I do think they'd be more likely to be a being rather than necessarily, say, a craft or something like that. Normally when you see orbs, in my experience, when they're things like an extraterrestrial or multidimensional being, using the orb as a means of transportation, it's about the size of a grapefruit and normally a condensed colored ball of energy. Whereas when I look at the orbs that you're showing in this situation, because there are multiple of them, all of identical size, all of like a very identical coloring, I'd be more inclined to believe those are multi-dimensional beings along the nature of angelic beings or higher vibrational beings, perhaps crystalline or ascended masters, something along that vibrational frequency to disrupt and create such a large energetic mass of that proportion.
Okay, that would actually make sense. I do remember when I went into my backyard to take those pictures, I got this swell of energy that was drawing me into that area. And I actually had come home and put my key in the door, and I went to go turn it, and something just told me to get my camera out, and I
Aw.
walked to the backyard, started snapping photos, and I could see that the very first one had an orb right over by the tree. And I could feel this, it's hard to even describe. It literally felt like a feedback of some kind of static kind of going towards my chest and neck area. And it felt like he was kind of going back and forth between me and that area. And I felt energized. And so I kept snapping photos and got more and more of them. And in several of them, there's smaller ones too. But it seemed to charge the area. It got really, well, staticky. It was also quite a damp evening as well. But I would agree with your analysis. That sounds probably accurate, I would say.
Well, it's just my perspective based upon the things that I've experienced. And that's fine because everyone has different encounters, and based upon the things they've encountered, maybe something completely different in their situation.
Yeah, not everyone's going to agree with what we've said, and I think that's perfectly okay because they're going to have a whole different set of experiences. People could just think they're smudges for all they know, you know? So,
Yes, I do.
and that's fine
One
too.
other I agree. One other thing I want to talk about is quite often when psychics are looking at people, we'll notice orbs around them. On occasion, you may see orbs behind someone, whether it's standing behind them, or you may see like an orb encompassed in someone's aura. And depending upon what we're noticing, we might be able to pick up what it is. So for instance, if I were to see like a large silvery white orb or like a golden orb behind you, I could interpret that to mean like an ascended master, like Mother Mary or Kuan Yin or Jesus or the Buddha or all sorts of beings like that. Whereas if it was something more of like, let's say an orange orb contained within the aura, then I would know that's more likely to be a child that wants to be born, or perhaps a hybrid child, or a child that if it has like a bit of a reddy essence to the orange, it could be an indication of a child that was miscarried or aborted. So I mean, orbs can encompass any number of things, and I think that when we look at the concept of orbs currently as they're presented, people are assuming it's just one thing, when in actuality I think it actually encompasses so much more than what we are currently being taught.
Oh, I agree. I agree. There's a lot to it. This is just a small smidgen of what it can be, you know?
I do. And do you ever find it interesting, like, as someone who has pets, I notice that my dogs tend to notice things more than I do, but I find my cat notices a lot more than my dogs do, so I think cats may actually be
Right?
quite a bit more psychic than humans, with
Yes.
dogs being similar to us, but maybe more clairvoyantly inclined, because some things they
Mm-hmm.
notice and other things they don't seem phased by. So I don't know if they see all dimensions better than we do, whereas I think cats see better overall.
Yes, I definitely agree with that one because my cat chases them around like nobody's business. He'll stand at the door here and just look at it for 25 minutes, and every once in a while he'll jolt his head all around, and I'll be like, "What are you doing?" He'll look at me and walk away, and I'll be like, "What the heck was that all about?" And sometimes he'll go running and jump all the way up the door, just at nothing. It's pretty interesting. And well, back in Egypt days, you know, they were guardians of the underworld. You know, they kind of looked after the undead or the dead, right? So it totally makes sense. My cat sees them all the time. I'm sure he does. You know, so
Well, I think cats are just these amazing psychic little beings that way. But I know you and I were hoping to keep this YouTube video short, so I think this is probably a good stopping point. And in the future, I'd like to do more videos with you, maybe about other topics though.
sounds great.
Awesome. Well, once again, thank you so much for watching. And I was so happy to get to do this video with Michael from the Vast Experience. He has been absolutely delightful to do this with. And thank you once again, Mike, for coming on.
Thank you, Samantha.
Perfect. Have a beautiful day, Michael. Peace, love, and light.